Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 11 November 2015. Coming to you with another Edgepro tutorial, kind of the benefit for you guys of my experience with the Edgepro Apex. Most of these things would also work with the professional model. After well over 1,000 knives sharpened on this very machine, this initial Edgepro Apex that I bought, gosh, 2.5 years ago. So now that I'm sharpening full time, my learning curve just accelerates actually. A couple tips and tricks that I want to give you long-term use that we haven't covered in any of the first Edgepro tutorials that I did, and it's been a long time since I did one. First of all, I want to show you something that alleviates many of the frustrations Edgepro owners might get when trying to sharpen small knives. I guess maybe about a year ago, a little longer, Ben Dale at Edgepro came up with this little device. It is the small knife attachment. I'll show you how it mounts here in just a second. It comes in a poly bag, at least it did when I got this one, which was one of the first ones made. And it also came with this little note. See if you guys can see it. It says, "Rob, here is one of the prototype knobs we got today. Thought you would like to see it." And I believe that is this knob, which is a later revision of the knob for the small knives attachment. And there is an instruction sheet that comes with it, which frankly isn't extremely clear. Not that it isn't written well, it's just kind of interesting how this thing attaches. So what we do is we take off our guide. And you know what, before I take this off, I'm going to show you why we need this. If we're sharpening a larger knife, like this Benchmade 908-1501 striker, we would adjust our clip so that our knife edge hangs over the edge of the machine. And on a knife this size, I can get to that entire edge, even around the corner of the machine, and have tip hanging over. No problem. Well, what if I go to a small knife, like this Everyday Barlow from Northwoods? I bring my table up to support, or bring my guide up to support the knife. Well, my edge ends, I think you guys can see this, well inside the edge of the table. And if my main cutting edge is parallel to the front of the Edgepro, my tip is on the table. Now I could do a stroke along the main edge bevel and then pivot the knife so my tip is hanging out in space. It's still going to give me a little bit of an issue with my stone hitting the corner of my table and my tip's way out here, altering my angle in a bad way. Generally these knives are going to thicken at the tip, and we want that angle to be more steep, so we sort of want that tip to be hanging back from the edge of the table. You know, Ben talked in his original videos for the Edgepro about riser blocks, so we could lift the knife up off the table a little bit and give our stone some clearance. Well, nobody wanted to cut riser blocks. You had to make special sets for each knife so it followed the shape of the belly, and so he came up with this. And I tried to give him some pretty good feedback, and I think helped him design some hardware for this. There may even be more current hardware than I have. We're going to take our standard guide and nut off, and then we're going to remove the top fiber washer from the adjustment screw. And then we have this hard plastic textured sub table, I guess we'd call it. And there is a set screw that rides in our channel. The adjustment screw goes in that slot, and it barely protrudes. We adjust this sub table right to the front edge of our normal table. Then we have a smaller guide. I've got a little tape remnant there. I use clear packing tape on the front of this instead of one of the clips cut down. So now the adjustment screw is going to go through the hole in our guide clip and over that adjustment screw. And there is another fiber washer. Ben used to use an O-ring, and they were just too squishy and they didn't hold firmly enough. So you got a hard fiber washer. I should be doing this with the other hand. Okay, so that's how that would look. Then when we set our knife on, I've got a much better situation going on. My tip, which is bellying away, can hang off the edge. I don't have to move the knife. I don't have to bring my angle way out like that. It's really versatile and useful for a lot of different situations. You do have to, you're going to add about a degree of angle when you add that thickness when you go to set up your sharpening angle, but most of you guys are using digital angle finders or some kind of protractor analog angle finder like I do. So you're only using the marks on the standard for reference. Anyway, you're dialing it in much more precisely, which is easy to do. I use this attachment not only on traditional pocket knives, but also on knives that just sort of have short blades or lots of belly. And when I want a tip to be able to move back toward the pivot, knives that thicken at the tip like Sabenzas, even a large Sabenza I'll do on this table, the small knife attachment, so that where the stone contacts my tip is well behind the front of the table. As you guys know, if you sharpen Sabenzas or other knives like them, on fixed angle sharpeners, sometimes your bevel can get pretty wide at the tip as it thickens. So it's a big help for a lot of reasons. Let's see. Let me show you something else that works quite well that I've come to use over the last year or so. I actually had a viewer turn me on to this. You guys know Edgepros generate a lot of slurry, which can really make a mess of a blade. For a long time I was taping blades with blue painter's tape, and if you've tried this, you know that it isn't very waterproof, especially when you're moving it around on a table. And sometimes I would have to change blue packing tape 2, 3, 4 times to sharpen one knife, because it would start moving around and start going away, and just not good. And I had a viewer, I think on one of my Edgepro tutorial videos, say, hey, why don't you use clear packing tape? And if you notice, I don't have any blue tape on the Edgepro table either, but I do have clear packing tape. And this one piece of tape right here probably has 40 knives across it, and it's still holding up really well. I mean, I change this about every 50 knives. It doesn't move. And I also tape my knife blades with it. You can be super precise. And the way that I sort of do this, kind of show you on this Victorinox serrated Spartan. This is interesting because this is the knife I used to cut with. I just don't want to mess up an edge. Okay, so what I do is lay that tape right to the cutting edge, and I run it straight down the straight portion of edge, letting it sort of hang over as the knife bellies. Then I'll run another knife, this knife, along the cutting edge, so I'm trimming that tape to the exact shape of the belly. Then I'll pull the tape off, back it up about 1/8 of an inch to give me some tip reveal, and I'll lay it down so the edge of the tape is about 1/16 of an inch above the cutting edge. And after I've trimmed it, then it's going to follow exactly the belly of the knife. If I want to protect the spine, I can fold it over and trim it. If I don't need to, I just go along the spine of the knife and trim it off. Do that to both sides. I've never had to replace a piece of this during sharpening of a knife unless for some reason it was a major reprofile and I ran into the tape. I've never had it come loose. And it's super precise. What I use comes from the post office. It's just that Ready Post mailing tape that you can buy from your post office. I've actually used several brands of this stuff. This works amazingly well, better than anything else I've tried. And it lets you be so precise and take care of the face of that blade like you should. So let's see, what else have we learned? Let's get some of this stuff out of the way. Okay. This might be one of the most important things I've learned. I generally sharpen on the Edgepro using the factory stones from Edgepro. Here's what they look like. These are aluminum oxide stones, and I started off with the 220, 400, and 1000, and then the 2000 grit polishing tapes. And I found that reprofiling led me to really need something more coarse to hog off material. I started buying their 120 silicon carbide stone, which cuts great, but they get out of flat really quickly, and the whole stone lasts maybe 30 knives, especially if you're working hard steel. So I found something a couple weeks ago, and those 120 silicon carbide stones are like $9 unmounted. You just keep your old blank and put new stones on. So I was getting 30 knives for $9. I found something on Chef Knives to Go, and these are their house brand, and they are on a pretty thin steel. They're 120 grit diamond, and you can run them with no backer. I have this one on a backer, as you can see. In fact, this was an old 1000 grit blank that I had. Just glue it on there with contact adhesive. You can run it without it, but the thickness is too far out of whack, and I wanted the extra strength from the aluminum backer. This diamond stone has, I think 10 knives on it, and it's $9 if you buy it unmounted like I did, because I had some extra blanks. I see no abrasive missing even from the edges of this, and that's digging up against the 90-degree plunge grind of a couple Spydercos. It's probably a little faster cutting stone than the 120 grit silicon carbide from Edgepro, and it definitely stays flat because it doesn't, there is no thickness to wear away. The diamond seems to stay put, and I like it a lot. Will I get 40 or 50 knives out of this for the same price without any of them done out of flat? I think so. I'm not a big fan of diamonds at the final cutting edge, even on super steels. But for hogging off material for a reprofile, these things are awesome, and you don't need to spend a lot of money for them. And the 2-inch wide DMT stones, you can't see the blade with the stone that wide. These are just a much better value and are more precise, I think. Here's another area that I've learned. I've been finishing my edges before the strop with Edgepro 2000 grit polishing tapes. And guys, if you've used Edgepros much with polishing tapes, that you know that you can make a pretty small mistake and you end up with a polishing tape that looks like this, all hacked up. I mean, if you looked at my floor, you'd see little shards of 2000 grit polishing tape everywhere. There's nothing more fun. These things are 60 cents a piece. They come in packages of 15 for $9. There's nothing more fun than changing to a brand new 60-cent polishing tape, making about 3 strokes on it, and you turn it wrong, you put the wrong pressure on it, and you do this to it, like that. Well, there's 60 cents gone. So I wanted to find a way to go from my 1000 grit Edgepro stone to something finer that would translate to a strop without leaving scratches, and I ended up buying one of these guys. This is the Sharpened Glass 4000 grit stone. So it's like 3.8 microns, and it's doing a really good job. This has about 10 sharpenings on it. It's staying very, very flat. Here, this will give you an idea of what it's capable of. This is a Benchmade striker in M4 that I sharpened today. And as you guys know, CPM M4 will take a very, very nice polish as long as you have a couple days to do it. It's good. And it doesn't tear. I think, this is like a $45 stone. So that's the equivalent of 75 polishing tapes. Look how thick they are too. Much thicker than a factory Edgepro stone. I'm sure the cost savings will be staggering. And because it's a little finer grit than even the 3000 grit Edgepro polishing tapes, it gets you to the strop through the strop with much less effort. Love it. I don't really prefer, the Sharpened stones all the way up through the grit line, because the softer or the larger grits, lower number grits, don't wear as well as some of the Edgepro stones do. But this thing is, well, it's like a chunk of glass. It's very, very, very hard. So those are kind of some of the things I've learned after 1,000+ knives on the Edgepro. Holding up pretty good. On my second set of suction cups, on about my, I don't know, I've gone through a lot of these little white clips. But other than that, I really haven't replaced anything on this machine. It is about time for a professional model, though. I still don't have one. But it's really going strong. Any questions, or if you have any ideas for me, please leave them in the comments section. That's all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and this here M4 striker are sharp.